Hello everyone, this is Joseph from Talon Productions, and today we'll be looking at the Transformers Masterpiece movie MPM-10 Starscream. This figure is based off of Starscream as he appeared in the 2007 Transformers film directed by, of course, Michael Bay, and is the 10th figure in the MPM line. This is the first original mold in the line for Starscream, although the first figure in the line, MPM-1, was an extensive painted version of the Hunt for Decepticons Leader Class mold. We'll start off with the packaging for this guy. This is pretty much the standard packaging for the MPM line with, shots of the figure on the front. Got Movie Masterpiece up at the top, or Masterpiece Movie Series. Transformers on the side, Takara Tomy in the corner, Hasbro down there. Transformers down at the bottom, MPM-10 Starscream Decepticon with a logo. On this side, you got an image of the jet mode. All the same thing, Transformers, MPM-10, blah blah blah. Back, more shots of the figure with various shots of the fact that there's a movable mouth, flip-up thrusters, missile arm attachment, saw attachment, and articulated hands. Down here you got, of course, the Transformers authentic logo. Then on this shot you got one more shot of jet mode and, of course, a close-up of Starscream's face. Overall, I think neat looking, maybe nothing, too special, but pretty cool. This is how he comes packaged. We'll be looking at Starscream first in his F-22 Raptor mode. Overall, I actually really like this mode. There's been a lot of complaints about certain inaccuracies to the F-22 from the movie. Part of it being the color scheme of the guy. It is inaccurate, but I actually don't really mind it. I think it kind of looks cool. It's just the fact that it's obviously not an accurate paint job to what we see in the movie. But I kind of dig it. It's got a bit of a, I guess you could say, a tan with some gray throughout, and you got little bits of light blue here and there, as you can see over there, even over here. You got some gold back there too. There's a bit of like an amber here for the cockpit, and yeah, there's not too much to it, but like I said, despite the inaccuracies to the actual paint scheme of the F-22, I actually rather dig this for some reason. The next bit of complaints from this guy has been the kibble in this mode. Now this, with what the robot mode is trying to accomplish, I really don't mind. Yes, as you can see, you got a good bit of thickness here, and for a lot of people it's the fact that you can see some parts sticking out down there and there in between the main wings and the back wings. But it doesn't really bother me. Movie Starscream has always kind of had a bit of thickness to the F-22 Raptor modes. Some do it better than others. Not to mention the movie designs, even at their best in figure form, they've always been a little difficult to translate into an actual toy. So for this one to have a few inaccuracies here and there, but to have, in my opinion, a near borderline perfect robot mode, I feel like it's worth the sacrifice. So overall, with the jet mode, I actually like this a good bit. It definitely has its flaws, with that being the inaccurate paint scheme and, of course, the kibble in the mode. Some people say this is undeserving of being called a masterpiece. I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but I do feel like some people take, that name of the line, masterpiece, maybe a bit too seriously. Because, it's just, for me, the movie designs are a lot harder to really nail compared to, say, something like G1 or something like that, just because they do have such wild, detailed, complex, and even just out there, like Starscream, designs, and then turning into, regular Earth vehicles. And the fact is, the F-22 Raptor is one of the more sleek jets out there. So, taking this big, bulky robot mode and turning it into a really slim jet, it's going to be difficult regardless. Sure, you could say some have done it a bit better. Overall, I still feel like this is a decent mode that was definitely sacrificed for just how utterly fantastic the robot mode is. We'll start off with a few size comparisons here. We'll go from oldest to newest in terms of the Starscream figures. And first is the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager figure. I've always really liked this mold, especially since, he is one of the more cleaner jet modes, I'd say, despite the fact that, you got the hands hanging out back there. Next is the Hunt for Decepticons Leader Class Starscream, which this is the Revenge of the Fallen / Dark of the Moon tattooed version. This one, I always thought the kibble on it was okay. And it probably has a bit more of an accurate, color scheme to the movie. Just once again, despite the fact that this is one of the tattoos, but really the only difference between movie 1 Starscream into 2 and 3 was him having those tattoos added on. Here is the TF Dream Factory knockoff version of the MPM-10 Starscream. And this one is probably the most accurate in terms of paint jet mode that I have for Starscream. You know, super cool. I really like this one a lot. And last here we have the recent Studio Series Starscream. Really like this one a lot. You know, doesn't have too much there at the bottom. The paint scheme isn't really movie accurate either, but you could probably say it's more accurate than this one. You know, this has kind of the same thing that I have with the Masterpiece version, being that, like, despite not really being accurate, I think it still looks pretty good on its own, just as a figure. So there are a couple of, I guess you could say, gimmicks for this mode, where on the bottom, obviously, you got landing gear, 2 here, or, you know, 1 on each side, then 1 right here. That one you can fold down. These fold to the sides. These are obviously the thighs of the robot mode, and this makes the back, well, part of the back. But yeah, so you got that, and great, that's untabbing. Super cool. Then, of course, you got his weapons, where you got the, I believe it's called a Vulcan cannon, and basically a big machine gun. You got his missile launcher attachment arm thingy, and then you got his saw blade, which of course these are basically the same, except, you know, one's got missiles, one's got the saw. And is here you got this tab, and you got either of these. I prefer to put this one back. I know these function for parts of the transformation into robot mode too, so, you know, got it there. It spins, you know, pretty neat. And then, so for the attachments, you got tab holes here on each side for the wings, where you can put one of these guys. I prefer to have where this little tip here sticks out so it doesn't bump into anything, and you just, you know, very easily slide these in. I say easily as I'm over here. There we go. Bam! So you got the jet mode all weaponed up. Of course, it just adds more to the sort of, you know, thickness and how everything's showing. I'll do this for a, you know, sort of the storage of everything in the jet mode, but I don't usually have it just like this on its own if I want it to just be the jet. Now it's time for the transformation. This guy isn't really too hard or overly complex or anything, but the engineering for me is just right to get everything looking right in the robot form. So, starting off with this guy, you want to flip down the landing gear, lift these panels up. Do is unpeg these bits here, take the legs right in there, and tab there. Flip this back, try to move these up a little bit, say a little bit, but, you know, forward, and then let the legs kind of go down, and bring all of this out. First bit I feel like you really want to do is the legs here. Just split them and raise them up, bring this down to where the light gray that matches the legs is showing. Unpeg this here, flip this all the way down, flip those up, tab that in, toes back. This is like kind of like a double tabbing in there. Then turn this around. Then what you're going to do is bring this joint forward, tap it in up there, and bam. Done with the leg. Do the same thing to the other side. Then what you want to do is flip the front part of the crotch down, but bring this up, tap it in like that. Now we're at what is probably the hardest part of the transformation with the arms and the sides of the chest. Not even that it's that hard, but, you know, just it's probably the roughest of the bunch. So I want to bring this forward, then go ahead and move that down just so it's, you know, in the right spot. Then what I do is take this here, as this is the shoulder, bring it down, then flip this piece down. This right here, this is going to be the arms. Bring it up, slides into place. Then you got the, you know, arms here. Flip down the fingers, turn the wrists. Then what you're going to want to do is bring this down. This part right here likes to pop out of the joint area there, so watch out for that. Yeah, bend that down. Then you got this spring-loaded panel here. You want to take this, flip it around. It's right there. This bit right here. Flip this up. And you're pretty much done with that side. Do the same with that side. Now you're at the point where you want to go ahead and bring this down. Of course, the cockpit, and you got the head right there. Alright, so now that you got this all squared away, what you want to do is lift this forward, bring these down, and got bits here, flip those out, and you want to lift the head up, put the cockpit back up, then bring the head up. Then you'll see with these bits, you have a tab here on these pieces that tab into the bits of the cockpit that you fold out. Tab those in, and then up here you have sort of a T connection you're going to want to slide down. Show it again, you got a connection there, you slide down, connects there, and as you can tell, he's almost done. Go ahead and fold up the crotch and get the legs however you like. Of course, Movie Starscream has these sort of chicken legs, people like to call them, so you know, and you have plenty of room to do them however you want, you know. Go ahead and get them so that you can have this guy standing while you finish him up. Alright, sort of finish everything from the front, you're going to want to flip this up, this down, and then put the wing down. Out, down, and show you. That's about where I like to put mine. Then what you want to do is flip this down, so you got this slot here. Bring this up. As you can see, this slide right in. Got on the waist here, tab, slot, bam. Tab, slot, bam. Oh, that's how I came up. Then make sure these are against the back. Fold these out, and then the jet boosters, fold them outwards like that. Last thing you want to do is take this piece and fold it down. And no, I don't know what you're talking about. This totally was not something that I forgot to do in the main video and then reshot later. I have no idea what you're talking about. Starting off, this guy looks absolutely superb. If the flaws of the jet mode were the sacrifices made so that the robot mode could look this good, then I think it's worth it. This thing looks incredible. It's probably one of the best looking NPMs in robot mode that they've done so far, and certainly one of the most accurate. The amount of detail is insane and captures so many little small things from the CGI model, and even the back has so many cool details, including one of the best things being that he has the boosters on his back that are actually individual pieces, something that most Movie Starscream figures have lacked. If you are a fan of the Movie Starscream design, this is one of the best representations of it. In my opinion, it's the best transformable figure of the design, and is definitely up there in terms of accuracy alongside the likes of, say, the Prime 1 Studio statue or the 3A premium scale figure, despite not being quite as good as those, obviously. Like all of the other MPMs, except for 1 and 2, but I kind of don't usually count those when I'm talking about the MPM figures. But like all the other ones, this does have die cast. It has it in the shoulders here, and you get it in basically the whole bottom of the foot except for the back bits here are die cast, and you can pretty much just look at it and tell because it's not painted die cast. Now we'll look at the accessories, which are all weapons. First we have what's probably Movie Starscream's most iconic weapon, which is the missile cluster attachment. You got 3 missiles on each side, 2 blades in the middle. It does have a slight bit of articulation in that it can turn. That's kind of neat. And then, you know, you'll flip that up to attach, once we get to that in a minute. Here we have basically the same thing, except it's the buzzsaw attachment. Is, you know, it's just, you know, from here up that's different. You know, it spins. Pretty cool. Granted, he used this in Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon with the tattoos on the design, but you know, it's still cool to have this nonetheless. And last but not least, we have the cannon from the jet mode. which goes on his right arm. And now we'll look at how to attach these. So for the most simple one, you have on here a tab there, you can see, that will slot in right here. And then bam, you have the machine gun on his arm, which is cool. That was a constant thing that he had in the movie, so it's nice to have it here. Now for the left arm, he usually used the missiles with this one. So what you want to do is take it. I like to leave the thumbs out because that's more movie accurate. You're going to fold half of the hand down, the fingers underneath the bottom of the arm. Then you got a peg here, and then of course kind of like the same thing with the machine gun tab there on top. What you want to do is, let's see, attach it, plug it, and there you go. Now one thing that's unfortunate is the ratchet joint in my copy, obviously, in the shoulder here, sometimes can be a bit iffy with holding the attachments, which does suck. I have been able to get some floor polish in there that help tighten the joint up, but it seems like it just keeps wearing down. And to go ahead and just use this arm again, plug that in, plug it in there, and you got the buzzsaw. Now with the articulation, this one holds up a bit more, maybe because of a denser plastic used for the missiles. Causes it to droop down more, I don't know. But yeah, this one holds just fine, except for when I do that. So it's got this feature weapon storage for these. You got these tabs on the underside, the same ones used for the jet mode. You go here and here on the back wings. What you want to do is bring these back and peg them, or should I say tab them in. I prefer to have the weapons down. They look kind of ridiculous if you have it the other way, where they're sticking up, but there you go. Now, starting from top to bottom, we'll look at the articulation. The head can turn almost all the way around. I'm having to kind of hold this a bit because I used some floor polish, and it kind of tightened up that joint too. So it can be a bit difficult for me to turn. And you can look up about that far, and the mouth opens too. Super cool. Starscream look like he's talking. Cool thing is you got some really good, let's see, I guess you could say chest articulation, because here and here allows you to do that, which is super cool. The leader class version also had a similar joint, although it was more so going forward than backwards, but that's pretty neat. Now for the arms, you got ratchet joints that can pretty much go, fully forward. You kind of have to move it all a bit. This here can move just to help you, with your posing. Goes out about that far, go in, elbow joint, bend it backwards if you want, bends right there about 90, pretty good. He does not have a turn or a swivel at the bicep, which is very unfortunate. You can kind of flex one if you mistransform this a bit, but it still looks a little weird. It doesn't exactly work, so it's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then for the hands, swivel at the wrist can turn. If you want to use this joint, you can. It'd be kind of weird, but the two thumbs, yes, two thumbs, go forward, back, and each of the fingers have a bit of the knuckle go down. Pretty cool. Now the articulation of the legs can be a bit weird, just because of the design of the legs. You got thighs can go up that far, back that far. Let's see, go out about that far. You can also turn. Super cool. You got this knee joint, straighten out that far, go back that far. Make sure to tab in this bit if you want. You could maybe use that as an extra joint, but it's not intended to be. Then you got this here. Oh, don't do that. Let's see. Bends that far back, that far forward. Now, you're only supposed to get an ankle tilt down here. You know, if you kind of mess with it a bit, you can also get it forward and back. Then you have stuff that unpegs, and you know, it can be kind of iffy. Now let's look at the back here. Got these wings. They can move back pretty far forward, and you can arrange them however you want. I prefer to keep them kind of low down like how they were in the movie. These move too, although they're supposed to be kind of flat against these, so depending on how you have the main wings, the tail fins can be, you know, they can move around too. And then the boosters can move around. You get them side to side pretty good. They can move up. You know, it's not a whole lot, but it's pretty cool that you can mess with those a little bit too, just to get a little more variety out of stuff. So yeah, overall, I think this figure has a good bit of articulation. You know, some areas are kind of limited, whether due to the design of the figure or due to the movie design itself. You know, kind of depends. Some joints can be a bit weak, so you might want to use some of the floor polish. If you can, that's a very good thing to use if you want to tighten up joints. But yeah, overall, it's pretty good. Time to start off the size comparisons. First off, we'll go with the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager class from 2009. He's having some issues standing, but you know, you get the drill on that one. Next up is the Hunt for Decepticons Leader class figure. Here's the Dream Factory knockoff of the MPM-1, which I think they look great together, and it really highlights just how far, even from this guy, which is a great mold, how far it's come to the MPM. Next up is the Studio Series Starscream. And we'll get into some MPM comparisons, which going here is Megatron. Come on. Which I think they look great together. Here's Barricade, and this is the knockoff version that has the better colors, and never really did like the colors on the official version. Here he is with Optimus Prime. This is the Legendary Toys version, just these colors look better too. I think the scale is pretty good between the two because Starscream was bigger than Optimus Prime and, you know, looks good. Here he is with MPM Ironhide, MPM Jazz. Here he is with MPM Bumblebee. And one last one. Here's the New Age third-party Soundwave from Dark of the Moon. It's meant to be a MPM Dark of the Moon Soundwave. I think that looks really good too. And here is a shot of all the current new mold MPM figures, not counting in the Bumblebee movie VW Bumblebee. As a group, they all look great. I'm excited to see how everything will look with Ratchet and where the line goes from here. Now, on to the negatives. I know I've probably mentioned a few here and there, but overall, I don't think this guy has too many negatives for the robot mode, but some of them would be possibly that there's a lack of paint. You know, I don't think he looks too bad as is, but he could definitely be seen as a little plain. Another thing could be the soft plastic used. The fingers, the bits here on his weapon, you know, stuff like that. I don't really have a problem with it, but you know, once again, that could be something to look out for. You also can have some iffy joints. Like I said, the joints in the feet can be a little wobbly at times. The left shoulder on mine isn't the best, and I've heard some other reports of that being the case for some people's. And of course, one of the biggest ones, the lack of the bicep swivel in the arms. I think that you can do without it for the most part, but it definitely does get in the way, and I found myself trying to move the arm, you know, either way and not being able to because the joint's not there. So that really is unfortunate. I don't think that it kills my enthusiasm for the figures, but it's definitely a very notable flaw that the figure has. Overall, I think that this Starscream is fantastic. The robot mode is absolutely stellar and is one of the best robot modes that the MPM line has produced to date. The jet mode, while certainly not perfect, is pretty good in my mind despite some pretty obvious flaws, but the robot mode is definitely where this guy shines. If you want the perfect transformable representation of the movie Starscream design, I'd say this is it. This is another great release in the movie Masterpiece line, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. This is Joseph from Talon Productions. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.